Hello everybody, it's Mrs. Holler. I'm not here today as you can obviously tell, but you do have Josie to help you out. I'm going to show you a couple things I want you to play with the photos that you took last week. If you can't find your photos or they're missing or you're scrambling, it's not a shooting day today, but you could either share some of the photos that your friends have by emailing them to each other, or if you're desperate, you could pull them off Google or pull them off Facebook or wherever you want to sort of gather your images. But then I want you to play around in Nik, because Nik is like the coolest software ever. I don't know if you can see the top of my screen just because the screencasting software seems to be cutting it off. But you're going to go to once you load up a picture, so you'll go File, Open, Load up a picture. You're going to go to the very top where it says Filter. I don't know if you can see that, but if you can, awesome. If not, on the very top bar, go Filter. And you're going to go Nik Collection. Now, there's a few places you can go in here. You can go to all of them. But I'm going to show you 2 or 3 of them that I think you might really like today. So the first place you want to check out is something called Color Effects. It's about the best plugin you can get for color photography. You can also do black and white, but it's pretty cool. Basically, there's a whole bunch of options here that make it really brainless for you to do it, so you can play without a whole lot of effort. So over here where it's selected, this means you want this filter. If you don't want it, unclick and it just brings you to the natural one. But then if I want it back again, you can choose through what you want. So let's say I'm in by color. If you look at it change, you can really sort of change the overall look of the image and get some quite dramatic, maybe not always natural, but some very dramatic pieces. So let's, I'm just going to pick one. Let's go here. You can choose how bright you want it, how blended you want it, vertical shift, not vertical shift, how much you want, by color filters. If then you wanted to do another filter on top of it, you'd press Add Filter. And then eventually, if you decide you don't want by color, you can just check that off. This one you can choose your own colors, what you would like for it. I'm just going to show you each of these really quick and then you can go spend some time playing. Bleach Bypass gives it sort of like a rusted, faded, peely kind of look. Brilliance and Warmth lets you choose the saturation from no saturation to lots. Warmth is reddier towards bluer. Classical Soft Focus gives you a bunch of sort of diffuse detail. It makes it quite soft, kind of like an old-fashioned photo. Color Stylizer gives you an overall tone. So depending on what you want it to be, you can adjust your tone. Just blued that one out a bit. Contrast Color, you can sort of play with color varieties there. Basically, I want you to kind of just explore all of these. If you want sort of an HDR look, you can make it crazy, like detailed. So let's say I've picked one of these. You can add as many as you want. So right now I've got by color and detail, but you can scroll down and you can keep adding more. When you've got it one you like, play with all these. There's a ton there, from very simple changes to very monstrous ones. It is doing a lot, so it's going to take a little bit of time to load. Maybe a lot of time to load. Maybe a lot and a lot of time to load. It'll be this slow on your computer, so really you're just preparing yourself for the inevitable slowness of Photoshop. So that's just a really quick enhancement, but you can see a whole lot of drama. If you go back to Filter on the top, back to Nik, if you wanted to play with silver effects, this is like probably the most easy to use black and white. So it gives you a whole bunch of creative options for black and white. Also, you have control if you want. So I always just click the first one and I move my arrow button down and I sort of play around with the different black and white effects. So they'll give you a name, they'll tell you what they are, but there's a lot of options here for black and white. Let's say I find one that I like. I can still play with the brightness. That's almost artistic. It looks like it's kind of been drawn. I can still play with the contrast, no contrast. And structure sort of gives it that high def, kind of wild kind of look. You can play with the tones. There's a whole bunch of different options here on how silver effects can make it work, but a great black and white. So I'm going to pretend that I just don't like this. You can always cancel. The other one I want you to play with in Nik is HDR effects. So if you want to make it look kind of wild, maybe hyper real, HDR effect is kind of your go-to one. So it's high definition. What it does is it makes your brights brighter, your darks darker, and it sort of layers your photograph. So if you kind of see the different options from less dramatic to more dramatic, and it just gives you sort of almost an artificial but a super surreal kind of look to it. So you lose some of the natural quality, but you still get some pretty cool shots. So you can play with HDR in there too. I don't really like that one. I didn't mean to click OK, but I'm there, so I'm just going to commit. And you wait. So it's not really what I envisioned. And remember, if you don't like it, you can just go edit, step backwards, or Control Z. So what I just wanted you to do today was to have a bit of free time to play in Photoshop, filter, Nick. I would spend most of your time on color effects and silver effects, and the last, or HDR effects. And the simplest one is Viveza. It only gives you really 4 things to change. But so structure makes it a little more dramatic to a little less dramatic. Contrast darkens your darks, brightens your brights. Just a really super small changes, but you can play with, you could also start playing with curves a little bit if you wanted to play with it in Viveza. I'm just going to cancel that. So play today in filter, Nick, color effects, HDR effects, silver effects, Viveza. Please ask Josie to show you something if you're struggling. She's not going to give you like a whole class lecture, but she can definitely help out if need be. If you're having a problem and it's not making the changes you want, make sure to go to layer, and then you can flatten the image. So what that does is it allows you to then continue to make more layers. So play around. Don't forget to save as a JPEG if you're done. So if you're not done, save it as a Photoshop. That means all your layers are still there and you can still play. If you are done, save as a JPEG, and then make sure to change it to like your drive. So have a really great day. I'm sorry I can't be there, but I really look forward to seeing your images next week. Thanks, guys.